How are we doing, guys? LUFC, Leeds 1, West Ham 2, post-match review of the game. Wasn't inspiring, was it, tonight? It just was not inspiring at all. Made loads of notes on the game, as always. It just wasn't, it was a nothing performance tonight. There was nothing to really get excited about, and nothing to really be encouraged about, just purely from those 90 minutes. You know, I think last week against Chelsea, I kind of let it go against Chelsea, because Chelsea, they've got world-class players across the pitch, and look, West Ham have got good players as well, but really there felt like a big difference in quality between the two teams tonight that really shouldn't have been there. You know, we're better than that. We're showing over the first 12 games or whatever it is that we are better than that. The vast majority of games we've been very competitive in. Arguably, in a lot of the games, we've been the better team, but tonight it just wasn't good enough tonight. Simple as that. It wasn't good enough tonight. As I said, I let it go last week, and fair enough, I let it go last week, I felt, because Chelsea are a good team. Chelsea will do that to a lot of teams this season, what they did to us in the second half. But tonight, no, it's not good enough tonight. That's simply not good enough tonight. There's no way around that at all. It was a weak start to the game. I don't really care if we went 1 up after 6 minutes, whatever it was. We had a good first 2 minutes, and let's remember, out of that first 5 minutes, the ball was only actually in play for 2 of them. You know, it's all well and good saying how good we were for those first 5 minutes or so, how great a start to the game it was. But all it was really was Liam Cooper, superb moment off Liam Cooper. He takes the ball off Haller, he puts the ball through to Bamford. Bamford rounds the goalkeeper, and it's a penalty. That's all we really did in that first 2 minutes. You know, I'm not having that we were great to start the game off with. You know, it was 3 minutes making a VAR decision. We actually missed the penalty. Get a bit lucky that Fabianski jumped off his line and retake it and score. But after that, it just went to pieces, really. You know, I think the attitude was wrong. If I'm being honest, at 1-0, the attitude was wrong. I didn't think we respected the game, to be honest, tonight. It's very rare you have to say this about a Leeds team, but we didn't respect the game. You know, at 1-0, I think at that point we thought, okay, we're 1 up now. West Ham struggle when they're having to come from behind. We're normally strong when we're ahead. And unfortunately, you know, we're trying all this Hollywood champagne passes, you know, cross-field passes, when we couldn't even get the 5-10 yard passes going. You know, Rodrigo, 4 or 5 times, and I don't like to single out players, but 4 or 5 times Rodrigo just gave the ball away. Simple little passes, just gave the ball away. Look, I know the nature of how we play is at high tempo, but we've still got to keep the ball in dangerous areas, in pockets of space, find the pockets of space, rotate, midfield rotation, you know, and just dominating the game from midfield. You know, we always knew we were going to have a lot of possession tonight. The way West Ham set up, the way West Ham play, you know, the long ball into Haller, you know, it works for him, but they don't have a lot of possession. And for us, we were always going to have 60, 65% of the ball, whatever it was. But we never did anything dangerous with it. You know, I think most of our possession was just Cooper to Ayling, Ayling to Cooper, Cooper to Alioski, Ayling to Dallas. It was that kind of passing network. There was no getting the ball into click into dangerous areas. Rodrigo controlling the game in that kind of West Ham's third of the pitch, and we just didn't do that at all. You know, the final third, we weren't really able to make the ball stick. It was just such a poor performance from that point of view, and the attitude was the big thing. It wasn't a case of, you know, West Ham did set up really well, but we did play into their hands a lot in that first sort of 20-30 minutes. I think certainly second half, Moyes made a couple of alterations, and West Ham completely dominated the second half as well. So it's a really disappointing performance. But when you've got players just not using their heads, you know, they're trying these little fancy flicks and tricks, but you can do that. There's no problem at all for doing that. Sometimes we do have to be creative around the box, but when you're doing it on the halfway line and you've got Benrahma, Bowen, Fornals, you know, dangerous players in transition, and you're being very cheap with the ball in terms of losing it in dangerous areas and very careless with it, you're going to get punished. We did the same against Chelsea. Chelsea, to be fair, we let it off because they have got top quality players on that football pitch, and West Ham do as well, but not to the same extent. Not to the same extent, really. I think really it was just so poor. It was so poor. And yeah, really, I just didn't think we were respecting West Ham. West Ham are a good team. They are a good team, West Ham. But yeah, I think there's definitely an issue with struggling with teams that sit in. Certainly at home. You know, you've seen the last couple of home games, Leicester, Wolves, to an extent Arsenal, in terms of we couldn't break them down, and last night as well. We're struggling with teams that can just sit in and have outlets to allow us to just get out and counter-attack us against us. So when we're trying to pin these teams back, you know, control the game, keep the ball in the final third, and just having loads and loads of the ball and, you know, recycling the attacks, keeping the attacks going, sustaining the pressure and all that lot. The thing is, West Ham, whenever we did sort of get them on the back foot, Declan Rice knew he always had that pass on his right hand side, he always had that pass on his left hand side, because Bowen and Fornals was running behind and they would chase all the loose balls. He knew he could just pump the ball down the line, Bowen would chase it, Fornals would chase it, or we could play the ball simply into Benrahma's feet and he carried the ball. Benrahma was outstanding last night. Benrahma was absolutely incredible. I don't care if he didn't get a goal or an assist. That was an absolutely incredible performance from him. And sometimes stats can be misleading, because Benrahma, for me, hasn't got enough praise. His performance was absolutely superb. And I can't deny that. It was an absolutely top-class performance from a player who we know is top-class. You know, arguably the best player in the Championship for quite a long period of time. And we've really struggled against Benrahma in that respect. You know, West Ham obviously changed their shape. They went for 4-2-3-1. Again, going into the game when they're speaking to Corey, who we'll be speaking again with later on tonight, and we're doing an opposition post-match review as well with our man Corey, as you'll know from before the whistle blows, so make sure you look out for that at 8 o'clock. You know, West Ham changed shape. They went to a 4-2-3-1. They had Souček and Rice in midfield, who they just dominated that battle, really. You know, in terms of physicality, you know, they barged Rodrigo off the ball a couple of times. They were very safe with the ball. They didn't lose it in dangerous areas. They knew when to kind of release Bowen, Fornals, Haller. They always had those passes available to them, and I think Moyes set up in the shape that made it so much easier for their players in possession. You know, West Ham only had 36% possession, I think, but they had 19 shots. 19 shots from 36% possession. I think we'll have had 64% possession, just doing my maths there. I think we have 13 shots. That shows how much more productive they were with the ball. It's all well and good having possession. Possession does not equal control. We never had control of that game. Even without the ball, West Ham were dictating what we were doing. Rice, Souček, they were almost making our midfielders' decisions for them. You know, they were dropping in on them, pressing them. They just knew they always had control, even when they didn't have the ball. And that's always a sign of a team that's really well tactically set up. And I've got to give credit to West Ham. West Ham, it's as much about West Ham putting in a really good performance, creating chances, and really controlling the game as it is about us being poor. Because we've not got beat to a poor team. As I said, there's no shame in losing to West Ham. There's no shame at all in losing to West Ham. You know, they're fifth in the table. They are not a poor team. They're a team that's going to be in and around that top 10. But at the end of the day, there's probably no shame to losing to pretty much any team in this league, because the quality difference is huge. And we've got to accept that. And you can't afford to be at 90% levels. You know, the last 2 games have been at 90%. We've conceded 5 goals in the 2 games, and Meslier has kept us in both games. You know, I don't want to get too overreaction. You know, I don't want to overreact too much, because we've got a game coming up straight away. We've started the season really, really well. It's been a good start to the season for us. Performances have been good. It's just last 2 games we've dropped off a little bit. We have dropped off a little bit, and there is a bit of a theme developing in terms of teams that sit in and they're happy to allow us to have possession, because we're not creating enough from that. And I will go on to the reasons I believe that is the case. There's too many players out of form. There's too many players in the team out of form. I don't even need to list them, because everyone knows who the players are out of form. Pretty much half of the team at the minute is out of form. Obviously, in terms of depth, in terms of injuries, we can't rotate that. I'm not necessarily saying that's the answer, but there are 1 or 2 players who are playing that badly at the minute, and that kind of out of... They're not bad players. You know, they're not bad players. They're not. You know, they've got us to here. You know, this is the same group of players who outplayed Man City in the second half, almost got something at Liverpool, played really well against Arsenal, etc, etc. They are good players, that's the thing. It's the confidence. Confidence is such a big thing in football, and there's a lot of players out there who have either not scored, not really assisted or created chances in a while, not really put in a particularly good defensive performances. You know, looking at the more defensive players, I don't even need to mention who they are, because we all know who they are. And it's a hard one. It is a hard one to know what to do, because I'm not going to say here, I want you to drop 5 players, because that's not the answer. That's not the answer either. We maybe just need to change shape a little bit, or just change something. Again, it's just a slight little tinkering with the system for me. It's just a little bit of tinkering. I don't think anything more needs to be done. I don't think we need to completely start again. It's nothing like that. You know, we are where we are in the league. We're in a decent position for a newly promoted club. We're still 8 points above the bottom 3 as we speak. That could go down, but you know, we're still in a decent position. I think anyone would have taken this at the start of the season, in all honesty. I think the fullbacks disappointed me a bit yesterday, to be honest. I think going forward in particular, I don't think 1v1 they did anything wrong. I don't think Dalton Alioski did anything wrong 1v1 against Bowen and Fornals. I just thought offensively they didn't really get up in support of Rafinha or Harrison in that first half. Second half, Shackleton came on, injected a bit of energy to sort of the first 20 minutes. But again, even Jamie Shackleton wasn't really able to advance past his winger and give his winger another passing lane. Give the opposition fullbacks, Kufal, Creswell, who had it too easy for me yesterday. They didn't really offer enough offensively. I think that's something that's been quite a constant theme all season, to be honest. I don't think we've been able to get the fullbacks forward as easily, especially on the left side of the back four, as we were in the Championship, and that's natural. But it's something to look at now, because when the wingers are struggling 1v1, you need your fullbacks pushing forward as well in support. Because if you don't have them pushing back up in support, you just leave you're reliant on your wingers winning their 1v1s. But if they don't win their 1v1s, nothing's happening out wide, and that's kind of what happened yesterday. Kufal, Creswell dominated every single 1v1. We didn't have a fullback flying forward to give us another passing option or try and change the angle of attack a bit. We didn't really have that yesterday, and that's been a bit of a constant theme against teams that sit in, and are comfortable sitting in as well. I mean, the first goal, the set pieces thing is something I'm going to touch on very briefly, but the first goal, we can talk about Souček's height. Souček is very, very good in the air. He's made a good late run, but Dallas needs to be more aggressive there for me. He's turned his back away from Kufal. And when you turn your back away from goal, you're not winning that header. You're not winning that header. Souček's got what I think his right arm on Dallas. Dallas isn't in a position there to out-jump Souček. Even if Dallas is in the perfect position, he's not really going to win a header on Souček, but he can put him off. When he turns his head away from Souček, he's just looking at the ball. He just doesn't win the cross, and I don't think there's enough aggression on the set pieces. We've never been a tall team under Bielsa, but I think in the first two seasons, especially the first season, I don't think we ever had a big problem on set pieces, especially that kind of first season under Bielsa. And I thought, to be fair, for large spells of last season, I think we really sorted out the set pieces. I don't think there's anyone in that team other than Bamford who's really putting his head on the ball and just clearing it. I think there's a bit of desire that you need on set pieces as well. It's all well and good making excuses about the lack of height. There's got to be desire there as well. Tim Cahill, remember Tim Cahill in the Premier League? 5'10", scored pretty much every goal in the Premier League with his head. It's not all about height. It's all about desire, aggression, concentration. I think that's lacking at the minute. And it's not Bielsa's fault. It's the individuals. They've got to take responsibility. The goal against Palace, your chance against Everton. It's players losing their men, losing concentration, turning away from the ball, turning away from the man. It's little bits and pieces. It's just decision making. Decision making needs to improve, and I think obviously in the Premier League another element of it is the quality of delivery is a lot better at this level. You've got Kevin De Bruyne, Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think Creswell's delivery was superb last night, especially for that second goal. The pace he puts on the ball, it's hard. It is really, really difficult. And whether he needs to go to zonal marking, I don't know, but I don't think it's particularly tactical thing. I think it's just desire, having that desire to just get the ball and just get it out of the box, defending the goal of your life kind of thing. I'm not seeing that really. I'm not seeing that aggression and kind of tenacity with our defending as we do when we press. And in terms of on set pieces, I'm not seeing that same kind of tenacity as when we try and press teams. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a bit of confidence as well, but it's something that definitely needs work on, whether it's on the training pitch. Really looking at who we're signing on certain people. Does Bamford need to be man marking someone rather than being the spare man to head the ball out of the box? And possibly. I think Bamford's the best header of the ball without cocking the team. There's absolutely no doubt about that at all. And I think you just got to look at what the opposition are doing. Obviously, they have Ben Rama and Bowen, and we kind of only really sat Phillips in front of the back four, and there was too much space between Phillips and Click and Rodrigo for me. At that moment in the game, can you move Click in alongside Phillips and keep Rodrigo in the 10? And look, these are just suggestions. I'm not saying these are the answers. I'm just thinking it's a couple of times now we've played these kind of teams that sit in, happy to concede possession. I've got very dangerous players in transition. Bowen, Vardy, Zaha, Eze. We've faced players like that and we're not really convinced in any of these kind of games against them, really. And that's obviously a worry. There might have been an element of complacency, but I wouldn't go down to that. I think this team's an honest group of players. There's no doubt about that. They're an honest group of players, but I just think there needs to be more aggression and tenacity on the set pieces. I think there needs to be a bit nastier on set pieces. You see Tottenham, quite a wise team. They know how to win free kicks from set pieces. I'm not condoning cheating. I'm not saying Tottenham do that. I'm just thinking, can we be a bit nastier? A bit less nice on set pieces. Dallas there on Souček. Can he just be throwing himself to the floor there? When Souček makes that connection with his arm and that lot. You see a lot of defenders do it. You know, I might get a bit of hate for that in the comments, but you see a lot of defenders do that, and ultimately, you know, on set pieces, that's probably, you know, part of the answer maybe. But I don't know. You know, there is a lot of problems for us on set pieces. I was a bit disappointed with Costa and Roberts. I say a bit disappointed. I was very disappointed with Costa and Roberts. What a fantastic opportunity for both of them last night. Especially Costa. You know, he comes on for Harrison. He knows Harrison's out of form. He knows it's his opportunity to really force his way back into the team. And he doesn't produce a good enough performance. You know, he gives away the free kick for the second goal. Coops loses his man for the second goal. He loses Bonner, who was a threat all night in the air. And Meslier has to make save after save after save after that. You know, it's 2 or 3 top-class saves. So it's a really disappointing performance. But look at it. It's pretty much a game and a half of poor football. And let's just keep, you know, I know I've got a bit angry on this one. I've got a little bit, not angry, but a little bit more critical than I normally would be. I normally sit on the fence more than this. I'm a bit notorious for sitting on the fence in these kind of situations, but it wasn't good enough last night. There's no doubt about it. It simply wasn't good enough. We've done all this work to get in this league. We've simply got to put in better performances than that, and it starts with Newcastle. Newcastle, similar team to West Ham, will sit in. You know, they're playing a similar kind of shape. So Maximan does a similar role to Bowen. We've got to show we've learnt on that. You know, we've got to show we've learnt from that Callum Wilson up top. You know, I don't think they're as good as West Ham. They're not as good as West Ham, but similar kind of dynamics in terms of how they set up. So we've really got to, you know, get to grips with it really. The set pieces thing, again, I kind of touched on it there. I don't think it's tactical per se. I just think the individuals need to be more aggressive in the air. You know, I think if it was tactical, you know, the likes of Ogbonna and Souček would have had 3 headers. They would have found that space, but they didn't have the space. We had Dallas on them, on Souček for the first goal, Cooper on Ogbonna for the second goal, and that suggests to me it's not a tactical problem. Bielsa had players on the key people in the box, but the individuals didn't do their jobs properly. They just didn't. They turned away from the ball, trying to be a bit too clever, instead of just getting in their faces and just winning that header. You know, defending the goal for their lives. I just don't think that intensity is there in terms of defending set pieces. I think from open play, I've got to say, I think we're fine, you know, defensively from open play. We play attack-minded, but, you know, I think in terms of Ben Rama pushing forward, that was probably the only real time I feared for us in open play. But yeah, it is a worry at the minute. It is a bit of a worry, but there's games coming up. We know we're a good team. We still had chances to make it 2-2 towards the end of the game, and we could have got a 2-2, you know, if we'd been a bit more wiser on the set pieces. So, you know, I certainly don't think we're in trouble. There's a lot worse teams in this league than us. We're a good team. And I still don't think we're in trouble. You know, January's around the corner. January's coming at a good time now. You know, you look at, obviously, the recent injuries to Cocky and Llorente. Can we bring in people in? Will we go back in for Rodrigo de Paul? Ricky Puig being mentioned. There's still a lot about this team. Not gonna, you know, Bielsa's the 3rd best manager in the world at the minute. It could even be higher. So let's keep the faith. I've been Oscar Marriott. I'm going to leave it there. That's me being my post-match. Check out Joe Wayman's and check out the opposition post-match after this as well at 8 o'clock. And like and subscribe if you haven't done already. See you later, guys.